Hey gang, so today we are looking at a couple of Fidget Boy products. Jason has sent through the Duneboy and the Duneboy Swoop. What's different about them? What is the difference between the Duneboy and the Duneboy Swoop? Well, let's get under the camera and have a look. This is gonna be a pretty quick one because they're very close to being the same, but they're actually kind of not. They're pretty unique. So let's have a look and find out why. It's the Duneboy and the Duneboy Swoop. Let's go! Okay, here we have the Duneboys. One is the regular Duneboy, the other is the Duneboy Swoop. So that's why I wanted to kind of look at them both, because there is, visually, I would say it's a subtle difference, especially in this kind of, in this resin material. It's a little hard sometimes. The light doesn't quite play off of it the same way it might play off of other materials. So when you're looking at these, it's kind of hard to tell the difference. So either you have to really, really look close, or you have to pick them up. And once you pick them up, that's when that's when the difference kicks in. So let's look at these first. So these are resin. This is a bit of a see-through resin, which is very cool. You can see the magnets. This is not. This is just a green resin. At first, I thought it was maybe glow in the dark, but it's not. It's just green. I did just get out my flashlight to check, and I was like, this and my UV flashlight, and no, it is not glow in the dark. So these things are a steel composite, which is great. It gives them a really nice weight to them. They both have the same style plate on the bottom. I know at one point the Duneboy had a slightly different plate. These ones have the same. So these are basically the same. What's kind of fun is once you get past sort of the, we'll talk about the differences obviously, but just because I have them both out, you can also mix and match. So, because everything about them is completely identical in terms of not profile, because profile's aside, but in terms of the overall shape, these line up perfectly. So that's actually kind of fun, having this little combo. What's different is the top. So that's what we're gonna talk about. All right, Sean, enough playing around. Let's talk about these tops. So the Duneboy is, let's talk about the original first. There we go. So the original Duneboy, extremely comfortable fidget. This is actually, ergonomically, this is really, really nice. This sits really nicely in your hand. We've got this little kind of, this ramp up, we'll call it, for your thumb. There's a bit of an indent here. And this thing slides so well that you don't even really need much of a ledge, because it's effortless, right, to separate them. So this one, I find the Duneboy is more of a when you're not really paying attention to it, and you also kind of, if this makes sense, you don't want to pay attention to it. So if you just want something that's even a bit of kind of a worry stone in a way, and you're just sitting on the couch and your partner is not next to you getting super annoyed by this sound, it's a great slider for that. It's what I would call maybe a bit more of a casual slider, because the everything is just sort of very relaxed about it. And maybe that's a good description for it. This is more of a relaxed design. I mean, just holding it, I'm still playing with it. And I do love how when you turn it sideways, it'll kind of pick up the highlights. That's the resin. So the Duneboy itself, really, really great. Fast. Beautiful little slider. And the thing is, the way Fidget Boy is continuing to sort of design and innovate the styles, these tend to feel less and less like 3D printed sliders. That's the stigma of 3D printed sliders, and I've talked about this in other reviews, is that 3D print is really kind of got a bit of a bad name. It's really, it can be seen as like cheap sliders, and in some cases they are, because what happens is a lot of people starting out for the first time, they print a 3D slider, they don't understand how much research goes into it. They're not really sure what to do to get it perfectly lined up. I mean, the people who've made these have spent, you know, years kind of finessing things. So there are cheap 3D printed sliders. When you get to this level, when you get to, for example, the Fidget Boy level, these really should not be considered 3D printed sliders anymore. Yes, they're manufactured that way, but it's not really plastic. You could say these are resin sliders, maybe. You could say there's steel, composite material. But they're just not 3D printed anymore, because really, do you call a spinner a lathe spinner? Do you call, you know, like, do you call a slider a steel machined slider? Like, we're at the point, I think, in the technology where the material is, or sorry, the method of creation is less important than the actual material itself. And I think maybe that should sort of dictate these categories from now on, or something to consider anyways. All right, enough of that. That's my thoughts on these. So this is a wonderful slider. Ergonomically, I love this. Nice and smooth, like I said, more of like an easy laid back slider. And then we get the Duneboy Swoop. And in here, we have a much more severe swoop, I guess. You can almost see it, like, if depending on how I turn, turn the slider to the light, but this is very indented for your thumb. This is almost flat. So when you're holding this one, you see that your fingers like just sink right into these holes. On the regular Duneboy, you do kind of have, you still have some of that, but this is a much more gradual lift. This, on the other hand, there's almost like an edge here. So that edge, so this edge is really perfect for push. Like, this is, in terms of this type of slider, this would be more of a performance slider. This is for people that really like want to get in there and push this thing around. So this, to me, just feels a bit more purpose designed. This is, you know what I mean? Like, it's I don't know. I don't want to try to oversell it. I want to be like, oh my God, this is like a tactical slider. Obviously, that's ridiculous. But this little thumb groove here certainly makes pushing much more focused than this one, right? This one is just kind of relaxed. This one, you have a very specific spot for your thumb. So the technique for sliding on this one, I do find is, it's very specific. That might be another sort of good descriptor for it. This, you just pick it up, your thumb goes anywhere. Sometimes my thumb is on the top, sometimes it's almost to the end. It doesn't really matter because it's such an easy slider to push around. This is exactly where your thumb goes. Your thumb catches this edge and it knows exactly where to sit. The sides are the same. The side profile, there's no real difference there. It's really just this little pushing lip back here, but it does make a very big difference. So that's kind of a decision you have to make when you're looking at these two is, are you the type of person that just doesn't really care and you just want to pick it up and kind of, thoughtlessly move it around? Or are you the kind of person that picks it up and feels comfort in having that little resting shelf, this little ledge for your thumb? I think they are, what's funny is I put them in the same review because they're similar enough that I like having them both on the same screen so we can kind of compare them and talk about the differences. But holding them, they are different. They are, if you closed your eyes and picked them up and just kind of held them in your hand, there's an extreme difference in how they feel due to your thumb. They both sound the same. I think these are both crunchy. Yeah. I would say these are designed to be crunchy. And now that we've kind of talked about that, now that we've sort of gone over the features, wait, let me make sure I have the right plate. This to me is the funnest part about these, is the absolute mix and match. Why, you know, why dedicate yourself to one style when you can just share? And that looks pretty cool too. I don't know, I think it does. So that's something to consider too, is that if you get one, maybe you want to get both, get two in different colors, and then you can just mix and match them. So there you go. These are the Duneboy, the Duneboy Swoop. Both similar and yet different. The other thing I do want to talk about is, for a second, is the resin. You may notice if you get one, the resin may have this little gap around the edge. That is normal. That's just part of the process. That's not a defect. I guess obviously if you have a huge gap, maybe, and you could talk to, reach out to Fidget Boy about that, reach out to Jason. But in general though, this is just, especially dealing with resin, that's just kind of the nature of it. Sometimes it just pulls a bit. Again, zero impact on the slider itself. And I love resin. Resin is such a nice feel to it. Apparently it's kind of tough to work with, but it feels awesome. Like, I wish these were all, I mean, imagine a weighted resin. And then if you just had a slider out of a weighted resin, that would be pretty sweet, I think. Anyways, let me get these back now. Back the way they're supposed to look. Come on, stop it. All right, gang, that is the Duneboy and the Dune Swoop. Thanks for watching.